there's been there's been a letter that we've passed around because one of the big oil fields that's in um, a low-income neighborhood in Los Angeles has not followed the same kind of regulations that um, oil fields in more wealthy areas of Los Angeles have to follow to protect the surrounding neighborhoods. And this oil field is owned and leased to the oil company by the Catholic diocese here. And so there's a lot of discussion about that. And what's his, the guy here, the Catholic person,
Archbishop.
Archbishop, yes, the Archbishop here is very powerful and very anti-climate for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a huge division probably in many churches between those that want to do something, anything to help people
Yeah.
and the planet, and those that are firmly aligned with the power mechanisms and the money pockets. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's the
It would
challenge.
seem like it should be a no-brainer that, I mean, like that as a Christian, you would want to do whatever it takes to preserve the earth and God's creation, but obviously it's not like that. Please forgive me for asking, but if, like from what we read and what we can see, these tar pits are, and the crude oil is so hazardous to the environment, to the universe, why do we still keep doing it?
Well, because these companies are very powerful and they have a lot of money and they can buy politicians or influence politicians. I shouldn't say buy them. I mean, you know.
And what is this used for? Is this like the fuel for the cars or the homes?
Well, I guess the bitumen isn't, but it's all oil companies, fossil fuels. And yeah, we can't cut it off completely because we have gazillions cars who run on oil. But as they transition to electric cars, then what we have to do is make sure that the electricity is coming from renewable sources.
What is the bitumen used for?
I don't know if it's used at all.
Bitumen is tar, and it has been used for waterproofing in the past. But like in Alberta, for example, the tar sands, they call it, that's bitumen, and it can be refined and you can get gasoline out of it. You can get different fuels out of it. So it's just that it's the dirtiest way to get it out. It's the dirtiest place to get fuels from, and any kind of fossil fuel is bad. And then when you add in that it's really hard to get it out, that makes it all the worse. So.
Yeah.
And then you build these pipelines that go often across indigenous lands, and yet we somehow can't build pipes to get water to indigenous communities. So,
Follow the money.
yeah.
Well, it's our system, right? It's our system. It's not very responsive to the needs, and it's not, I don't know. It needs to be based more on spiritual principles of sharing and, sacrifice.
We're just we're late, but it is beginning, and we're seeing things like standards. California sets the standards, and the rest of the nation will follow, whether we want to or not. So, I always look to California. What are they doing now? And so often it's very much in line with taking better care of the planet.
Yeah.
What about in Israel? Are there a lot of electric cars yet? How do people feel generally about gas?
I don't think climate change is such a political issue here. But I don't know if people are so active about doing anything. I see more electric cars. There are also electric buses, which is great. Um, yeah, I think Israel. I think I saw just a statistic like Israel is like we're a very high consumer of oil, like disproportionately so. So I think it's something that we really need to work on.
Hmm.
If not, how is the public transportation there now?
Oh, the public transit is great. I mean, granted, it's not such a big country, but you can get from, the southern tip, Eilat, to Jerusalem. There's a direct bus. It takes like 4 or 5 hours, and then there's another. You can take a bus from the central bus station in Jerusalem, like another like 4 hours to get up to the northern tip. So yeah, I really find the public transit is great. It's more if you're in a city. If you're in like more if you're not in a major city, then yeah, then it's more complicated. But I'm very happy with the public transit in Jerusalem.
Mhm.
Are there any trains in Israel, like high-speed trains or anything like that?
Yeah, there's a high-speed train from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv, and also along the coast, up from Tel Aviv up to Haifa. And they're working on building more, and including a train stop near us, which will be good in the future, but right now it's very annoying, just because the construction and people are upset about them, all the traffic it's going to create. But yeah, in that way, we're going in the right direction. That we're building trains, and yeah, Jerusalem has it's very interesting architecture. The streets themselves are not designed very well. It's not like New York City where you have many lanes. It's a lot of like, you know, there's going to be a lot of traffic. That's why I love biking around Jerusalem, and that's like the easiest way to get around.
You have a car, are you?
No,
Okay.
Yeah, Los Angeles is really hard because it's so spread out. If you want to, and they have a public transportation system, which I have used in the past, but uh, it just takes 2 or 3 times longer to get somewhere. And so, it's discouraging, but people do use it. Their ridership is down since COVID. And so they're trying to build it up. And they have a new little thing that they call Metro Micro. And it's a little van that'll come to your house or to the corner near your house and pick
Oh,
you up
nice.
somewhere for $1. But it's not wide. It's just in a certain area. So if you want to go, to some place that's past that area, I have my daughter who just had a baby, lives
Congratulations.
half an hour, thank you, a half an hour drive away. And if I wanted to take the bus, it would be like 2 hours. So it's really hard to connect up every place that would like to be connected.
Well,
right.
we have public transportation, but the buses run maybe once an hour. And so it could take you several hours. I've lived in other countries where the buses come every 10 minutes. So everybody uses the buses, but we just haven't invested. And part of the reason is there'll be fewer riders because so many people have cars. It's kind of like a vicious circle. You can't get the city to invest in something that not enough people will use. Same thing with high-speed rail. I've been dreaming about it for the Front Range, which is the Rocky Mountains, for decades, literally, and it's still not here, but it would be so awesome to have it.
Where are you, Liz?
In Colorado.
Okay.
In Staten Island, like before this, I lived in Brooklyn. Public transportation was no problem. You had buses, trains, took you wherever you wanted to go, and the wait time was not that long. Here in Staten Island, there are buses, but since COVID, you do have to wait possibly an hour for a bus. And as a matter of fact, yesterday I went to a doctor, short bus right away. I didn't even realize it was that short. And on the way home, I said, I'm not waiting for the bus. I'll just walk. It's probably like between a mile or two. And it was a beautiful day. I just walked. But then my daughter is having a baby in like probably in the next week or two in Upper Manhattan. For me to get from Staten Island to Upper Manhattan by public transportation is an hour and 45 minutes, minus the wait. And then I says, okay, let me try taking an Uber. An Uber is over $100.
Oh my goodness.
So I was like, oh God, I don't know. Maybe she doesn't want me to see her in the hospital. I'm hoping. She says, no, don't even come. All right, not a problem. I'll wait till you get home. But I don't know. If she does want me to come and I don't, she will never talk to me for the rest of her life. So I've got to prepare to bite the bullet and just get there however.
You do, you do.
Well,
What did your daughter have, Maggie? Did she have a little boy or a little girl?
oh, she had a little girl,
How nice. What'd they name her?
Genevieve.
Pretty.
Hmm.
Yeah.
My
So,
daughter's having a little boy named Jack. And if I call it, how you doing today, Vicky? She says, fine, why? It's like, no reason. I just was thinking of you. How are you doing? She's, I'm good. Yeah, and she was very cheeky. It's like, all right, she must be hormonal all the time. It's like,
oh yeah. Well, anyway, it's been really nice, but and we have an electric car, but I am hesitant. It's an older one and it doesn't have a wide range, so I'm reluctant about driving it that far and back. So I haven't been using that car, unfortunately. Anyway, it's so complicated, all this stuff with the fuel and everything. But we can slowly get out of it.
That's
And
right.
with all the auto companies now starting to switch over to making electric cars, that's happening gradually. They are installing public charging stations. Places of business are installing charging stations. So, I mean, years ago, my dentist had an electric car, and he had a charging station installed by his office, so he can charge his car because he's pretty far from the office. And one time he said he almost ran out of power. Anyway, it's interesting. But now the new cars are the new electric cars have a much wider range, so that's helpful.
Yeah, it's great. The technology keeps getting better and better. That's
Yeah.
makes it
Yeah.
easier and easier. But yeah, I mean, go all the credit to all the early adopters when it's not so easy.
Yeah. But it's interesting because we've been pushing for a price on carbon emissions, carbon dioxide emissions, and putting this price on carbon emissions, which can be done uh, at the well or mine, makes it an economy-wide thing, so that the oil companies are paying for this. Is I write letters all the time. The oil companies are paying for the damage that they've knowingly been doing for decades, and then we're suggesting that the money that they collect be returned as a dividend to consumers to protect them against higher prices, and then include also a border tax adjustment for if we're importing stuff from a country that does not price carbon, then they pay an extra fee, import fee. And so, and other countries are doing this. Other countries are putting a price on carbon, and it's a really good way to move us away from it. And it's gradual. I mean, we're suggesting a gradually increasing price so that gradually we can build up uh, the renewable sector. So that's what
I
That's what
love
I'm,
that. Yeah.
yeah, it's really good.
I
Check out Citizens Climate Lobby.
Okay.
That's the
We'll do
group,
that.
that's the group
I
that's
heard,
organizing this.
I'm going to write that down in my
heard-
Eco Bible.
I
Yeah,
heard
Ed.
an interview. I heard an interview on CBC, that's Canadian National Radio, recently with Yuval Noah Harari, is it? And he talked about, the urgency, of course, of changing over to renewable, and what it would take. And he said that if countries all would put 2% of GDP, normally they have figured out if they would put 2% of GDP into it, then it could be done very quickly.
Hmm.
And of course, 2% isn't very big in terms of what governments are deciding about all the time.
Yeah,
So, but the question is getting everybody together. That's the really tricky
yeah.
part. And now they have COPs. I don't know what number it is now. That's coming up very soon. Is it this
Oh,
week
yeah.
or next week or something? So
And
they're going to be talking and probably making decisions, and probably not going to follow through on those decisions again. But this, I mean, it's as you say, Maggie, it's a really ongoing process that there's a
Mhm.
gradual lifting of awareness, and the willpower of governments and representatives and so on has to be kind of built up gradually.
yeah,
We can't do it on an individual basis. I mean, we can do our little bit, but that's only part of what we can do.
yeah. And we keep saying it's the most important thing you could do now is vote, or,
Yes.
having our elections. So, and many more people have voted ahead of time this year than have done in the past, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. I've submitted my vote, my husband and I, and yeah, it's just so much easier to do it these days. Remember the long lines? Yeah, so that wasn't really very good for many people who had to work or were injured or had children. So,
I voted
yes.
already. It's a
Yeah.
different polling place than if I went on election day itself. But it's just, like 3 blocks that way, 4 blocks the other.
Mhm.
One thing I find difficult, though, is when you have a list of candidates. I don't know how it is in the US comparatively, but in Canada here, I don't find you know much about the candidates at all, even though, they may belong to a party and the party says this and that, but that doesn't mean you really know the character of the person at all. It's just, so you see a few posters stuck around in the lawns around the area, and
Mhm.
we really don't know enough. We really have to make a bit of effort to research the
Yeah.
people that we're voting for.
Well,
Yeah,
Consider
unfortunately,
yourself lucky and blessed because here it's no nonstop campaigning all year long.
and not
But
only
that's
that, but like if you just consider yourself, it's basically between the Democrats and the Republicans, and whatever party you align yourself with, you just go all the way down because you don't want anyone from the opposite party to get in.
yeah, things
I
are
think
really
it's true.
bad right now here.
And now, I mean, listening to the different news broadcasts, CNN, MSNBC, whatever, and there's an awful lot of talk where people are afraid of what's going to happen on election day or shortly thereafter if their party doesn't win. Because
If a certain party doesn't win. Yeah.
yes. And
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose people probably know which party it is, and it's like a scary thing because I'm not around that, like I don't align myself with the party that needs to win in this area, but I'm in a minority. And most of the people in this area are going to be up in arms if their party doesn't win. And I think I'm going to have to just isolate for a while until things calm down.
I
What
think
if-
what usually happens is there'll be a little bit of a fuss, hopefully not like January 6th. And, most people are pretty decent and they'll just move on with their lives. Many people live in areas where they don't have much choice. There simply are no candidates from the other party. I live in one of those areas, so I have to really look at the person carefully and to see if they're crazy or, not before I vote. Um,
Yeah. Isn't that amazing that we have to choose between crazy and not?
Nowadays, yeah. And yeah,
And there's so much
I
on,
think we should.
TV that they don't really even take a stand and say, well, I stand for this. They just, badmouth the person on the other side. And it's like, you don't even know what you're voting for because there's just so much nasty talk.
Yeah. We have a few places. There's an organization called Vote Smart. And the thing is that it takes a lot of effort, as you said, Ed. It takes a lot of effort to look somebody up, but you can go to votesmart.org and you can look up a person who's running for office anywhere in the country. They have a huge I think they have a lot of college volunteers who work on that, but they do a lot of research and they find out what the person's positions are. They give a bio. They talk about whether they've ever, even if they've never been in office before, they go and look at things that they've said or things that they've written. And so you can get a pretty good picture of a person, but you go person by person, uh, this is the one running for governor. This is the one running for your state representative. This is the one running for attorney general. All those different things, you have to look up each one. So they tout themselves as a resource for newspapers and for journalists, but they're open, they have a lot of good information.
I'm going to check them out. I was just
Yeah, I
thinking,
wrote it
going
down.
back to the carbon credits, I wish they had done something like that with the coal companies. Because what the coal companies have done is not only stripped the mountaintops of their trees and polluted the rivers around it, but then after they make their profit and they sign an agreement to restore nature, they declared bankruptcy. And so they never restore nature. And this pattern has been going on in coal country for a long time. Here in Colorado Springs, we got rid of our big coal using energy plant, which was really great. But so many people are angry that we did it because, of course, the prices of energy have gone up, but they should make people pay along carbon credits or whatever it is all along so that they can't, trick people and declare bankruptcy and not be held responsible at the end.
Yeah, California has had that problem also, and they just passed some legislation that is supposed to help with that. And I think it means that the oil companies, mostly it's oil companies here, have to pay into a fund all along rather
All
than,
along, yeah, that's the key.
and there are a lot of abandoned wells and that kind of thing, and they're working on trying to get rid of those.
Mm.
Yeah, I live next to a gravel pit, which is about maybe 100 or 200 acres, I'm not sure. And it's a huge hole in the ground. There's a nice little lake in the middle, but it's all surrounded by, piles of gravel and this and that. And it's practically abandoned. And I can't get any information on what the company will do to to do anything about it. But that's, of course, off the subject of the energy. But it's a similar sort of situation where they don't take responsibility for the rehabilitation of the land and making it into something useful.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult. We also have mining of granite and things like that on our mountains. And they tried to restore the land lately. They didn't used to. But little seedlings are eaten quickly by the wildlife. So it's very difficult to reestablish, what used to be a forest.
Right. Yeah.
Vern, I need to go. I think when I leave, the meeting will end. But I'm going my my brother-in-law just got married last night. Now we're having another
Oh, Mazel Tov.
another
Congratulations.
get together. Thank you. So everyone, thank you so much. We'll be meet back, God willing, same at the regular time next week. We'll all be on the same back at a regular time. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful week.
And thank you for spending your
Yeah.
time with us in spite of the celebrations. Thank
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you
Citizens
so much.
Climate, is it Citizens Climate Lobby,
Yes.
Maggie? All right,
Yeah.
I'll check them out. Thanks. And vote smart. Yay. All right.
Care,
All
everybody.
right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a good week. Bye.
Good.
Bye.